Good morning, everyone. Sorry for that little technical glitch. We're getting started here right now. We're going to go ahead and let Joel share his screen. And we're going to he's going to tell us all about what we're going to present today. So just 2 seconds here while we get this all taken care of. You see many people coming in. We got 17 people. Outstanding. There it is. And I'm going to make Joel the host. And we're gonna get rocking and rolling. Okay, here we go. Good morning, everyone. My name's Jim Saprinsky. I'm going to be briefly your host for the session today. You've seen enough of my face. I'm going quiet. And today there's Joel. He's going to bring up our slides in just a second. We're going to go ahead and get started here and start recording. We should be ready to go. Bill, do we have the slide deck up, please? To get started.
Are they not up?
I just see your visage. I don't see your face. I don't see your slide deck. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I think you need to share because I
Okay,
took back host. My bad.
okay.
We're getting there, folks. It's a beautiful morning here in Chicago. We have 30 people already here. Here it comes. All right. Here we go. So Joel's got a great topic. I'm not going to spend a lot of extra time on housekeeping this morning, but if I could have the next slide, please, Joel, briefly.
Sure.
As I mentioned, I'm Jim Saprinsky. I'm the co-chair of the upcoming AnDOUC Summit 2025. I've been a presenter here. I am so excited to have Joel here with us today. But we also want to point out we've got other presentations coming up. We've got another one coming up on April 3rd with Meli Anamalai and Philippe Lyons on exploring data inside Oracle Analytic Cloud. So we're on definitely an OAC trend here. We also do have another presentation. We haven't posted it yet for May 1st. That's going to be all about some other excellent topics. And then on the 29th, we're going to be talking about geospatial. Also, our TechCast archive, as you can see, we have prior sessions here that date back to the beginning of the year. And we have literally somewhere around 8 years of presentations plus. So just go to andouc.org/techcasts and have a look. If I could have the next slide, please. And while Joel's making the next slide come up, here it is. You can reach out to us innumerable ways. One that I wanted to make sure everyone knew about was Blue Sky. Blue Sky is relatively new. There's a lot of people that are making the transition over from whatever we used to call Twitter, X. And we're starting to see quite a few people in the Oracle community, especially the ACE community out there. But there's a bunch of ways that you can reach out to us, including LinkedIn. You may have seen recently some posts on LinkedIn with some poor guy trying to implement AI or almost like an office space type situation, trying to convince his boss that he just doesn't have the resources. And his boss asked him to work both Saturday and Sunday. So if you haven't looked at our LinkedIn posts on there, have a look. But we're out on just about every social media platform here. I want to also mention Slack as well. You can chat with us. Just grab that bit.ly link anytime you want to. Any question you might have on anything related to analytics, big data, and artificial intelligence, machine learning, and spatial and graph. One more slide for me, I think. Please, Joel. And the big thing I want to tell you all about is it is less than 1 month away to Analytics and Data Summit 2025. This is the conference. If you want to come and meet with people who are specifically focused on generative AI, RAG, machine learning, Oracle Analytics Cloud, business intelligence, this is where you want to be. We also, by the way, just about a week ago, put out a new discount. We're going to come for 1 day. We have a $50 discount if you're going to stay for the whole conference. It's at Redwood Shores, by the way, old Oracle headquarters, we used to call it. We also have a $150 discount. So yeah, I know it's a bit of a schlep to get over there, but it is an awesome conference. We'll have some more video content coming out explaining more about that in the next few days. Keep an eye on LinkedIn and everywhere else. I think at that point, Joel, I think we have one more slide and it's time to turn it over to you, I believe. Let's see. Yes, and I just want to say real quickly about Joel. He's a fellow Oracle Ace Pro. Uh, Joel has been in the analytics, the Oracle analytics community for 25 years. So he's got his links here. I'm going to let him talk more about himself. But this is someone, if Joel's talking, you want to be taking notes. Joel, over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. So yeah, I think thanks, Jim, for that introduction. And I'll just start off very quickly, just give me some information about the Oracle ACE program that Jim mentioned. It's a program which kind of recognizes, people within the Oracle community who make contributions just to kind of, beat the drum of Oracle. So it could be anything from doing things like this webinar, for example, or writing blogs or helping product management with, providing feedback of enhancements to products. So it could be a variety of things. So it's a good program to be part of. There are many benefits to it. But I mean, you've got all the details here if you want to get more information about it, and just if it's something that you're interested in, you can get the information off this slide. So yeah, just thought I'll mention that, and I will now just quickly show you what we'll be talking about. So we'll be looking at Oracle Analytics Cloud. It has a number of REST APIs, which we can use to automate a number of tasks. So this is just going to, at a high level, look at what some of these REST APIs are and some use cases of them, some practical examples, and just show you, how you can use them, to kind of automate a number of processes that, you do in your daily administration of the Oracle Analytics Cloud instance. So very quickly, I'll just start off with just a very quick overview. I'm not too sure of what level of people in terms of the Oracle Analytics Cloud experience we have in the audience. So just to give you a high level overview of what Oracle Analytics is, it's really just a platform that gives you access to, show insights of your data. That's it in a nutshell. It has a data visualization capability where you can build out dashboards or reports or, pretty looking graphs and charts, and you can even do things like pixel perfect reporting as well if that's your requirement. So that's one capability of the platform. Another thing is the self-service aspect, where I think when we look back 5-10 years ago, if you had an analytics capability, you'd probably would have had a centralized team, and any dashboards or development that you needed would have had to be dealt with by that centralized team. But now most modern analytics tools have a self-service capability, which Oracle Analytics has. So any user, very easily with little or no training should be able to build up, visualizations and to gain insights from the data that they have within their company. Another aspect of the platform is, I've put down machine learning, but now I think everyone is talking about AI. So there's the whole aspect of AI and machine learning, which has been incorporated into the platform. Another aspect at a high level of Oracle Analytics Cloud is its integration capabilities. I'll say that with a caveat that it's not a full-blown integration platform. There are other Oracle tools which are dedicated to integration, but it kind of gives self-service users the ability to have some type of basic integration capabilities. And I think some of the REST APIs enable you to automate some of the tasks there, which we'll look at, down the line. So now that we've got a quick overview of analytics, I think we'll just kind of introduce the REST APIs that we have in Analytics Cloud. So there are a number of APIs which have been made available in Oracle Analytics that do a variety of things. So this is just a snapshot. It's not a full list of the APIs which are available in the platform, but just to give you a taste of some of the things which are there. Now, in terms of giving you an idea of what, some concepts of the REST APIs, what you should really understand about the REST APIs is that it's an endpoint which you access through a URL. So you use this URL to interact with a resource. In this case, our resource could be a particular function within Oracle Analytics Cloud. And you access that endpoint via the URL to perform an action of sorts. What you do need initially before you can call these endpoints is you need to authenticate. There are a number of ways that you can authenticate. You can authenticate to use these endpoints. The token-based method is the one, I think, of choice that you can use within Oracle Analytics Cloud, although there are other types, which some of them may be not as secure as others. Now, these endpoints give you access to, a number of request types. In here, you've got, I think, the summary is you've got a get, a post, a put, and a delete. So an analogy to understand these request types is if you think of data manipulation language, DML, a get, you can look at that as a select where you're just trying to get a piece of information from the resource from Oracle Analytics Cloud. A post is when you're doing, I think you can look at it as from a DML analogy perspective. You can look at a post as doing an update. You're updating a piece of information within the platform. A put is, you can look at that as an insert, and a delete is a delete. So at the bottom here, you've got this HTTPS URL, and that's just like the basic initial piece of the URL that you use to call your REST APIs. Now, if you want to call these REST API endpoints, there are a number of ways you can do it. One of them is you can do it from command line. You can use curl. So the basic syntax is, you append your commands with curl, and then the method, the method is the request type that I've, mentioned previously. And there's some headers that you have to add in. And when you're dealing with, I think I mentioned the post and the put, which are analogous to, update and insert, you have a payload. The payload is just like a piece of information which you write within in a JSON format, which has the command that you want to pass to through the endpoint to the resource, in our case, OAC. There are a number of tools which you can use to call REST APIs. The one that I tend to use the most is Postman. So it's just like a front end where you can make these calls if you don't want to do things from the command line. So one important fact is that some of these REST APIs, you need to, for instance, store some information. So in order to do that, you need to have access to a bucket within your OCI console. In order to do that, you need to have the correct access. And what you will need to do is you'll need to use one of these policy statement commands to give the user or the group of users access to the objects within the object store of your storage bucket on OCI. So it is worth noting that a good example is, we'll have a look at this, in a few minutes, is if you're looking at snapshots, snapshots are a way of extracting information from your OAC instance and enabling you to reapply that information to another instance of OAC. So in order to do that, you need to be able to store the snapshot file somewhere. And to do that, you need to have access to a particular storage bucket. And this command gives you access to do that via the REST APIs. If you don't do this, you will get errors, and you won't be able, you'll get some access errors. So it's a step that you need to be aware of. So yeah, so this is just looking at it in a bit more detail, just for you, so you can be aware. And the command there is something along the lines of, you just have to, you create an IAM policy in OCI, as it says there, to give your instance access to a storage bucket. And this is kind of the syntax that you'd use to do that. This, I put in quotes, this is optional, but it's something which I have done. You know, it's, just when I started off with this, I noticed that, you know, I was getting all sorts of errors, but there was no way that I could see what these errors are. So there is a way that you can create logs on your storage buckets, so you can identify, you know, what might be causing the issues with your, you trying to call a particular REST API that requires access to a storage bucket on OCI. So if you create these logs within your storage bucket, it gives you access to look in detail at error logs, and it does help you identify problems quite easier than if you're going in blind. And I mentioned Postman being a tool I use to call APIs. This is at a very high level. There's the screenshot here. If you can see, it's doing a post call to the snapshots REST API. And within the window, you can see the type is called create, and you give a name. So what this is trying to do, this is trying to create a snapshot file, and it's using the post method to do this. And the payload is the JSON code there, where you give it information about what you want to do. So the type is create. So want to create a snapshot. The name of the snapshot you want to create is demo snapshot, as you can see on the right-hand side, and you specify the storage. So this is storing the snapshot in OCI, and it's using OCI resource principal for authentication. It also gives you a link to the file that you want to create and the password and things like that. So this is kind of the basic syntax. So again, before you do this, you have to do your authentication with a token, which I think we'll look at some further down the line. But this is just to give an overview of what it looks like to execute these REST APIs. So in order to execute an API from Postman that we just looked at the screenshot in the previous slide, what you need to do is, in our instance, we were doing a post request because we wanted to create a snapshot. We added the payload as a JSON instruction. We specified the action type, which was the post. We created, in the payload, we gave the snapshot a name. We specified where that snapshot file was going to be stored in the storage bucket on OCI. And we specified authentication being a token, and I think we saw there that there was some information about the bar file that we wanted to create. A bar file .bar is the file name of a snapshot. If you're executing the API, what I mentioned is, I think you need to use the bearer token. That's what's used for the authorization. So this screenshot here shows you, what the token looks like. So once you've got your token, I think there's some links here as for anyone who wants more information about these tokens and how everything fits together. There's some resources on a slide further down that has links to some more detailed. So I think Oracle has done a good job providing some information about these. So could have a look at that if you want to look at this in more detail. So what this does, this is just looking at the authorization window within Postman. You have a bearer token that's been created. And once that's created, you can then make a call to the REST API to create, in our case, to create a snapshot. So at a high level, what we're doing is you would have to, the number of ways that you can get this token generated. One way is you can get that token created in OCI in the IAM console. You can then copy that over into Postman, and then you can execute the REST API that way. There are some things which you could do to automate the creation of that token. That's really, that could be a separate topic, altogether. But at a high level, what you do need in order to call your API is you need to create a token, which you can do in OCI, get that token over to Postman, and then you can make the call to your REST API. It's worth noting that, these tokens have an expiry. I can't remember because I think it's about 5 minutes. After that, you will need to create a new token if you need to rerun your REST API if it expires. So in the example that we've looked at, we've created a snapshot file. So this screenshot is showing you the storage bucket, and it's showing a number of bar files. These are snapshots which have been created using the REST API. And yeah, I think it's worth noting.
I'm sorry, Joel, it's Jim. We had a question. Good
Sure.
point here. What does IAM stand for?
Oh, it's I can't remember. It's access management. I can't remember. It's just
Identity access
yes,
management,
identity
maybe?
access. Yeah, that's it. Yes, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Thought
So
so.
that's
Someone asked.
yeah. So yeah, that's just an aspect of OCI that manages access users and manages that. So that's the part of OCI that you'd use to create your bearer tokens.
Oh,
Thanks, Jim.
great. Thanks. Yeah, no, just that. Yeah, too many acronyms.
Yes. Yeah, I should have put it out. Spelt it out. Yeah. So yeah, so this is just, in summary, just trying to look at the advantages of why you would use REST APIs and how it's beneficial to administering your OAC instance. One of them is the efficiency. I mean, the overhead you reduce. You can look at it from a manpower perspective, where it takes time. I mean, if you were to do this manually, it would take you a considerable amount of time to make, to do all of this manually. But if you get this all coded up correctly, then it's just a case of calling scripts to do these functions. So it improves the efficiency from that perspective. Another thing is, which we'll look at, is from the integration perspective, is that you can kind of integrate the calls of your REST APIs with infrastructure as code and IAC, which allows you to do things which include an example is you could spin up an instance of OAC and create import a snapshot into that instance. So all of that could be automated, and that again links back to the efficiency side of things. So yeah. So I think the question is, why would you want to automate OAC administration? I think that, going back to some of these points here, I think that kind of answers that question in a way. It improves your efficiency. It means that you can spend more time doing things which are more beneficial to your business, rather than being tied down with dealing with these administration tasks. And again, as I mentioned, some of the challenges of doing things manually is the complexity. You know, if you are working in an area where you've got multiple instances of OAC and you need to manage those, it can almost become a full-time job, just ensuring that you have the right catalog or the right visualizations in the right place. And if there are changes made that you need to move across, you know, it becomes a lot, you know, complex in managing that. But if you can automate some of that, it kind of, you know, gives you back some time. And, you know, again, you've got the error rates reduced because there's, you know, we're prone to errors when we're doing things, you know, monotonous things. But if we have this automated, then that gets rid of that and reduces the chances of errors occurring. So yeah, the benefits are there. You know, it speeds up. You know, if you want to speed up an instance, if you've got this all coded up in a script, you can do that quite easily. It becomes more reliable. You're not reliant on somebody having to write, you know, to do this manually, and there might be a step missed out. And it's scalable, you know, because it's in scripts. You can do this, and it becomes repeatable as well. So just some of the areas of the OAC administration tasks that are candidates for this area are things like system monitoring. There's some REST APIs that you can use to make calls to see, you know, whether your system is up and running and things like that. And we've mentioned in terms of release management, it's something we'll discuss. You can do things like moving, you know, your artifacts, your catalog across from one environment to another using these REST APIs. And, you know, you can use it to manage your data. I think I did mention that one aspect of Oracle Analytics is there's some basic form of integration. We'll have a look at that later, but in that aspect, you know, you can make calls to REST APIs to handle that as well, to automate that process as well. So looking at content deployment, by content deployment, we're looking at the artifacts, which are like your visualizations, and dashboards and those report objects. You can use these REST APIs to move this content from one environment to another, but I would say that, you know, with a caveat, but we'll have a look at that. These are some of the artifacts within the catalog which are candidates for being moved across via the snapshot file. I think we've kind of covered this in the sense that, you know, if you're doing this manually, you know, it's error prone and it's time consuming. And if you have a process which automates this, which you can do via the REST APIs, then it just ensures that, you know, you can deliver this consistently and reliably. So I think we have looked at this flow of the process where the Oracle documentation has a list of, it's very clear in terms of the list of the available endpoints which are available. So if you find one that you want to use, I think the example that I've used in the previous slides is one of the APIs to create a snapshot. So once you've identified that there's an endpoint that you can use, then you choose the method that you're going to use to call that. You construct a request, whether you're using curl or postman or whichever method you want to use to make the call to the API. And then you execute it, and then you can get that ready in a script format to get that up and running for your automated process. So I think what I did mention is that in terms of using the REST APIs for deploying catalog objects, there is a limitation in its current form where it's not granular. So in the sense that if I have a particular data flow and sequence that I want to move from one environment to another, you can't specify at that level of grain in the catalog. You have to copy the whole entire catalog and move that across. I think I have had some conversations with some of the guys who look after the REST APIs in the product management team of Oracle Analytics. And I think it's something they're aware of. And I think it's something which I'm sure with time we will see. So I'm hoping that that's something that comes, sooner rather than later, because I think that would be something that would be very helpful in automating the deployment of objects using these REST APIs. So the current method is you have to use a snapshot. The snapshot contains the whole catalog, for example. So you can't specify one catalog object. You have to copy the whole catalog via the snapshots file. So yeah, I think I won't go into this, but I think this is just, I think is something that is just worth knowing that, if again, you can use these APIs for your version control, which is something that you can do, then because if we're running scripts and, that's automated, it means that that process is consistent. And there's one thing that people might say that there's an overhead in maintenance, but I kind of disagree with that in the sense that I think setting up the scripts will take a bit of time, but once you've got those set up, then they're reusable. So that improves that process from that standpoint. You could also use the REST APIs for backups and disaster recovery. And because I think I've kind of focused a lot on the REST APIs you use for snapshots. Now, because you can automate the creation of these snapshots, you can have a process that moves these snapshots from one environment to another. And if you need to bring a particular environment up, you can just copy that snapshot file over, and then you can use some other scripts which we'll look at, is how, I think a few slides time is, there's this thing called infrastructure as code, where you can use code to build up your infrastructure. So you can incorporate these REST API calls within that to automate your disaster recovery process. So it's worth having that in place. And the obvious benefits of this is that if it's automated, then the click of a button, you can call a script which brings an environment up. So that's quite handy. And again, you'd have reduced errors, the cost savings, because you're reducing the amount of time you're using to do this, and it's all automated. And you get efficiency gains because you can call the scripts to execute these. So I think some of the benefits of this, from automating these in a large OS environment are, is the scalability aspect, which I think I've mentioned several times. It gives the ability to expand your analytics platform almost seamlessly. You can automate that. So a number of things. Again, I think I've mentioned the cost savings aspect as well. The release management, is a lot better because it's all automated, and you can automate that process of moving, objects from one environment to another. Again, as I mentioned, the caveat here is that at the moment it's at the catalog level, rather than at an object level, but hopefully with time to come, that would become a piece of functionality that Oracle released for us. So yeah, I think we've had a look at this, how you can use REST APIs to create snapshots. We've seen some, how you can call that in Postman or in curl. So it's very easy to create your snapshot, but just to recap that you need to ensure that you have the right access to the storage bucket that these snapshots are going to be created in. So I think I did show some policies that you need to create in order to ensure that you have that, that you can create them and within the storage buckets that you specify. Now, integration, as I have mentioned, is one aspect of the Oracle Analytics platform that enables you to do some basic form of manipulation of data. It uses things within the platform called data flow. So data flow, you can use it to tell, to do a certain type of manipulation of data, like moving it from one place to another, aggregating it, certain steps that you can define within these flows to get the data in the right format that you need for your generating your insights. A sequence is just an object that allows you to make calls to a number of these flows, for example. What the APIs in this area, the integration area, allow you to do is you can run a data flow. If there is some data within a data flow that you need reloaded, you can automate that as well. And again, you can have a sequence which is just calling a number of, it could be calling several data flows or reloading several pieces of data. So you can do that all within a sequence. And all of these have REST APIs, endpoints that you can call to do that. And yes, I think I have mentioned this a few minutes ago about infrastructure as code. So APIs, you can integrate this within your infrastructure as code to automate the full creation. For an example is spinning up an instance of OAC. So you can use infrastructure as code to create your OAC instance, and you can have an additional call to a REST API to get a snapshot from a storage bucket that has been created, and you can get that uploaded into this new OAC instance, and you can do all of that, and that can all be automated, and that can all be done, within scripts. So so infrastructure as code is just a way of automating, using scripts to automate the creation or the management of infrastructure. And the example I've given is that you can spin up an OAC instance, and in addition to that, you can use the REST APIs to upload a snapshot. So what that will do is you have a new instance with a catalog ready for you to use. So yeah, I think using REST APIs with infrastructure as code, the main benefit is from the way I see it is one of them, it allows you to automate completely the process of creating. The example I use is creating an instance and also getting a snapshot. So what you've done with that is that you completely automated the process of creating an instance and then having that almost readily available for use without you having to do anything manually. So yeah, so I think I've mentioned, a use case would be, getting an OAC instance up and running. Another use case would be, loading a snapshot. So if you have multiple environments that you're managing and you want to move a snapshot from one environment to another, you can do that through this process. So again, recapping on what we've spoken about before is the benefits of this is that, it's the automation aspect. You're removing that risk, by doing things manually. The fact that you've got this scripted means that it's repeatable. You can use the scripts over and over again. And looking at the example of spinning up an OAC instance, if you do that by scripts, you can provision environments very quickly. And because you're using scripts, the configuration will be consistent. And again, you can use this in a scenario for disaster recovery. Now just have a quick look at a case study of a global retailer that I did some work for some time ago. They had a number of issues, and I think we came up with an idea to use REST APIs to enable them to automate some of the issues that they were having. One of them was with disaster recovery. It was taken when I think they had an incident when they had to they had a production issue and they had to move to their disaster recovery instance, and it took them a considerable amount of time to do that manually. So they were just looking at a way that they could improve that process. And what I think we agreed on is that using these REST APIs, we're able to automate the disaster recovery aspect for them. One other area that they had issues with was, they were trying to push self-service analytics to their users. And a lot of these users were using the integration aspect of the platform, but when they were making changes to their data, they weren't seeing that reflected in their visualizations. So what we identified was a means of automating that using the REST APIs to ensure that their data was refreshed in a timely fashion. So that improved some of the issues that they were having. And again, this is something that is worth looking at, just to automate processes that to help solve problems that your customers or clients are having. Okay, so to summarize, I think what this is trying to show is that there are a number of benefits to using these REST APIs. I think one of them, looking at the case study which I just pointed out, it gives you that ability to recover faster from if you need to spin up an instance, you can do that very quickly. That your data is more reliable because you can ensure that you can have automated processes that refresh that. You can scale using this a lot faster. Your results will be much more consistent, and the efficiency would also improve. So that concludes the session. And do we have any questions, Jim?
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay.
So Mike Duran's on the call with us today too, and he's been answering some of those live, but let me run through real quickly. He's been providing some links, but let me just go through some of them. We did figure out IAM. That was the easy one.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of the questions that came in from Rakesh was, do we have an API to automate provisioning of OAC itself as well?
I think there is an API to that, but I don't think that's part of. I think that's part of the REST APIs provided by in OCI itself. But I do believe there is an API for that. Yes. Mike has his hand up. I think
we can let Mike talk.
Yes.
Let me get there real quick, Mike. I think I can enable Mike to speak.
Yes.
In fact, I can do that. Hang on just a
so
second.
we can hear from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, I'll get you up there in just a second. Another one was while I'm getting him plugged in, Salim asked, do we have a REST API to check the status of connection pools or data sources in the semantic model or RPD?
I don't believe we do. Off the top of my head, from what I've seen, I don't think there are. But again, I think Mike will be in a position to tell us if this is something that's in the pipeline for them to provide. But I have had some conversations with Mike about this in the past. And I think one of them was, as I mentioned, the APIs for deploying content is the granularity. I think that's something which isn't there at the moment, but it's something that Mike is aware of. So it might be something that Mike might be able to shed some more light on.
Mike's, oh, there's Mike's hand. Let me see if I can let him talk. I don't know if I have a way to turn that off. I apologize, Mike. You have to figure out how to unmute you, and we're running a little bit of a challenge with that. Sorry, Mike's been answering stuff right in the chat. Mike, if you want to drop any details on that, I'd appreciate it. Sorry about that, guys. Usually I'm right on the spot with this. Okay, some other questions we had. REST AI, semantics. I know we've already answered that, but one of the ones where all the REST APIs available for OAC, Mike pasted that down in there. And there was one other one from Savitha that where can we find more details about adding resource principal to use object storage with OAC?
Sorry, I didn't get that question. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Where can we find out more details about adding a resource principal? I believe I've got that right, to utilize object storage within OAC.
Okay. So I've got some links in the next slide.
Okay.
Well, I'm not PowerPoint of oh, there we go. So it will come up.
Wow,
So
there we go. Those look
yeah,
great.
yeah, that's good. So there's some links here that give you some information about these REST APIs, and there's these YouTube videos, so you can get some information there about how to make these calls to, in Postman or curl as need be. But yes, that information, you can find it here in the resources page.
And I think all the other questions, Mike's been running in there, and a few other people have been posting. Thanks, community, by the way, for letting us know exactly what you know, because that's unique to TechCast. I see that there's a lot of folks helping each other out, trying to find out those things. There were a few other questions, but I think we're pretty good. Rakesh, another question. Do we have an API to deploy bar/RPD/catalog after provisioning of OAC? Remember, guys, I'm just a DBA. I don't know what any of those things mean.
Yeah.
So I'll let Joel mention this.
Yeah. So this is what I think I've mentioned a couple of times in that at the moment, all of that is done through a snapshot file. So all of those artifacts are part of the snapshot file. So as it stands at the moment, you can copy a snapshot from one environment to another, but you don't have any control over what the content from the catalog is. It copies over the whole catalog. There is some level of management that you have on what the content is of the snapshot, but you can only specify, whether you include the user folders or everything. So it's limited in terms of what you can do, but unfortunately we can't get Mike to speak, but I think Mike would have been able to shed some more light on this, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mike, I can't unmute you. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. Let me see if I can figure that out. Does anyone have any other questions at this point? We're about 10 minutes before the end of our session here. One point I will make, by the way, is that almost as soon as this session ends, it'll be recorded via Zoom. And later today, we'll also post a YouTube video of this, as well as a chance for any of your other colleagues that may not have access to YouTube to essentially re-register and hear the recording live. So we will get that out there later today.
Yeah, sorry, Jim. Yes, I've got Mike to speak now. So
outstanding. That's right. You're host. You can do that. No wonder I couldn't. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, hi Joel. Hi everyone. So a lot of the questions that have been asked, the doc link that I've put into the chat for the OAC APIs should give you that information. So for example, there's a question about the catalog API details, and you can find that at the API documentation. In terms of the question around provisioning and managing an OAC instance, so we do have APIs for that. They are actually at a different level to the instance. So Joel's been talking about the APIs at the instance level. We have some APIs to manage the instance at the OCI level, if you like, and I've put a link into the documentation for that as well in the chat.
Right.
And just checking if there's anything else that I needed to respond.
we don't have any other open questions. By the way, Joel, could you pop up the next slide? Because I think we've
Oh,
got
yeah,
a
sure.
couple of things here. There's a set of generic links, by the way, that we always show at the end of this that are specific to everything. Well, I should say generic or specific to everything about OAC and Oracle Analytics. So just we've got that there. That'll be in the slide deck that we'll publish a little later today. Joel, if we could just see the last couple slides, and then folks, we'll give you back your day. Actually, if you look out there right now, I just checked, the March 6th slides are there. I just did upload them from last night. I forgot to mention that. This is exactly 24 hours old here. And also the video, once we terminate this webinar within about 10 minutes, any of your colleagues can go ahead and sign back in to that same link that's out there. It might still say register, but we'll change it to say replay. They can go ahead and dive into it right away. And like I said, the video will be available on YouTube as well. And I think we have one last slide, no more open questions. And again, I'll make one more pitch. Sorry, I'm a co-chair. I have to do these things. It's like when people go out on book tours, right? You got to talk about your book. I'm a co-chair. I got to talk about Summit 2025. We are getting some amazing response from this, from the Oracle PM community, from people that are coming in. We have the only problem we have is we have too many sponsors coming to our event. We're really excited about filling the old Oracle Conference Center out at Redwood Shores. As I mentioned, we've got some recent discounts on this. This is if you're in the neighborhood and you can make it, or by the way, if you have some friends that can only make it for a day, that would probably be Wednesday, because we have an amazing set of presentations and keynotes, including my good friend Abigail Giles Haig, co-presenting with Maria Colgan about generative AI inside the 23AI database and how to leverage the vector data type. So I know we've been OACing all day, but we have 3 other tracks besides that at Summit 2025, and we would love to see you there. April's a beautiful time of year to be in California. That's all I'll say. Did anybody else have anything else? Mike, did you want to jump in, say anything else? Joel, anything else?
No, I just want to say thanks for the interest in the APIs. Thanks, Joel, for covering that. And I can do another session if you're ever interested in some of the other APIs that we have.
Yeah. Oh, Mike, I'll take you up on that. Fair warning.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll send you a note on that later today. Okay.
Cool.
And Joel?
Yeah,
anything else?
that's all from me. And I'm just like to thank everyone who attended.
Thank you.
hope it was useful. And if
Yeah.
you need to connect to me to ask any questions, just get in contact. And thank you for attending.
Yeah, great session, Joel. Excellent stuff. I learned a whole bunch of stuff I didn't know anything about. All right. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone. Joel, you can just go ahead and click on leave and end the meeting for everyone. And I'll see you later.
Okay, will do.
Take care, my friend. Stay safe, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Nice job, Mike. Nice job. Super.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.